Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil wa ni'mal mawla wa ni'mal nasir. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil wa ni'mal mawla wa ni'mal nasir. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil wa ni'mal mawla wa ni'mal nasir. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil wa ni'mal mawla wa ni'mal nasir. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil wa ni'mal mawla wa ni'mal nasir. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil wa ni'mal mawla wa ni'mal nasir. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil wa ni'mal mawla wa ni'mal nasir. तौफीक ताईद हिम्मत व यारी या शाह करीम मुश्किल कुशा मेहरबान मौला मदद फरमा मदद फरमा मदद फरमा. Once again, Ya Ali Madad to you all. Thank you for joining here. And today we will be talking about the next chapter in our Kalam-e Mawla book, Fazilat-e Adab ke bayan mein. Fazilat-e Adab, which is translated as good behavior in Smiley Heritage site. That's where I picked up the translation from. So this is a new chapter we are going to start, and in this book, and online too, there were 5 verses, and inshallah, it will take 2 sessions and we'll discuss these 5 verses. Before I begin with the first part, let me tell you, to talk about good behavior is a difficult job, because how can you talk about good behavior? It is such a broad term. But you know, it is mercy of Mawla. When we'll focus on the verses, it will become easier. And I'll share with you how I was surprised when I was dealing with this difficult topic. So this is the first verse. Mawla says, Adab sikhao apne ahl aur ayyar, to nafa sahi baksha apne baal gopal. Adab sikhaya jine apne poot aur dhiya, तो सही बहुत नफाले उनको दिया. Teach your progeny and your brothers and sisters good behavior. If you do so, you will have bestowed real benefits upon your children and society. Parents who have taught their sons and daughters good behavior have indeed given best inheritance to their generation. I hope you can realize it is really broad topic. And Mawla is actually talking to us in the sense that we, being brothers and sisters, we got to teach each other good behavior. And not only ourselves, but our children, our Jamaat, our next generation. And Mawla says, if you do so, then you are actually giving real benefit to your children and your society. And then Mawla specifically talks about parents, that those parents who teach their children, sons and daughters, good behavior. And Mawla says that's the best virasat, that's the best inheritance you have given to your generation. Didn't we think that we have to have saved money and give that as inheritance, property and all those things are inheritance? But Mawla says the good teaching of good behavior is the best inheritance. Very strange, right? That means even just this first verse was telling me that I don't know what is good behavior. I got to learn what is good behavior. And I was challenged, how do we capture this topic? So I said, let me first look at the meaning of the word adab, because we are talking about adab, good behavior. So word adab is actually Urdu word, which has a very many meaning. It has very many meaning. So the first word is, the meaning of adab is actually izzat in Urdu. In English, it's honor. And honor can be like reputation, prestige. Then it talks about uprightness. One meaning is uprightness, trustworthiness. And then there's another Urdu word which is a meaning of adab, and that is ta'zim. Ta'zim in English means respect, honor in terms of discipline. Then there is another word, sharf. And if you must have heard the name Ashraf, Sharf. Sharf, Ashraf, they are from higher status, honor, elevated status. The way we say that humans are Ashraful Makhlukat. Sharf is from that name, right? Sharf. So higher status. Again, in English, it's honor. So English is very limited in terms of richness in comparing, when we compare it with Urdu, it's not that rich language as Urdu is. And then another word, which is also meaning of adab, and that is martaba. Now, martaba is translated as dignity, nobility, majesty. Again, it's a meaning of adab. Then when you look at English translation of adab, then what words are being used for adab? One is affect. That means to have an effect, to make a difference. Again, to make a difference in what context? The context is of discipline in relationship to adab. Then another meaning is consider. Now, what does consider mean? Think carefully about something, typically before making a decision. Then there's another word which is used for adab in English is esteem, to admire, to regard, and to respect. Then there's a word heed, to give consideration or attention to. So we can imagine this one word adab actually is a very broad word. And there are so many meanings in just a worldly level, worldly sense of understanding. It is a very loaded word, I would say, just 4 letters in Urdu too, adab, but actually it's very broad. So let's try and see, what Imam is telling us. So when I was looking at this list of different meanings which I got from dictionary, Google website, all generally things, right? And I was like, how do we describe all these words in context of adab or good behavior? And then I was reviewing the verses and I was so shocked myself that Imam actually has talked about all this in a very concise way. So we got to literally, dive deep into Imam's word to understand why and how Mawla said this word, that this is the best inheritance you can give to your generation. Adab is so elevated. So अदब सिखाओ अपने अहल और अय्याल तो नफा सही बख्शा अपने बाल गोपाल अदब सिखाया जिन्हें अपने पूत और धिया नहीं तो सही बहुत नफा ने उनको दिया. Very amazing words Imam has used for adab, good behavior. So let's look at this list. So when we talk of izzat, now those who speak Urdu or understand Urdu, they will understand all these words. There is a difference actually. Though in English it can be honor, 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 but there is difference. And that is why it is difficult to describe in the sense when you do not know the subtle meaning which are there in Urdu language, because it's so rich language. So with Mawla's mercy, we'll try and help understand this. So izzat is actually reputation. Now, when we talk of reputation, are we talking about reputation in the eyes of worldly people? Now, worldly people who are never happy, they'll find everything, anything to criticize. It is never possible to make everyone happy. So when Imam is talking about reputation or prestige in terms of adab here, it is not the worldly people we are talking about. And remember, when we think of this way of, when we hear, in among our family or friends that, oh, what will they say? Wo kya kahenge? When we think like that, actually, that is not reputation. That is beja. And I'm going to give you a very simple example. Like the other day, there was a teen who came to Jamaat Khana wearing jeans. And some of the elderly Jamaati members, they were like, why are you wearing jeans in Jamaat Khana? Do you not realize what people will say? And that teen didn't say anything, but just that a small example, right? What people will say. Does it matter what people will say? People will never be happy. So here when we talk of adab, we have to be careful that we are not talking about people or beja, meaning fear of people. Reputation in what sense? So it is not beja, actually it is the reputation in the eyes of our imam. What does imam appreciate? What does imam sees as honorable behavior, good behavior? That's what we are interested in, because these are advices, these are nasihat to us from Mawla Ali. So we are not talking about reputation in the eyes of the worldly people, prestige in the eyes of the worldly people. When you talk of prestige in the eyes of the worldly people, actually that can lead one to have ego. So one has to be very careful what we are seeking. When we are sitting in as a seekers of true knowledge, we are seeking not prestige or reputation in the eyes of the people. We are seeking that from our Imam, that Mawla would appreciate what we are doing, the way we are behaving. So very important, Beja is not appreciated. A Mu'min does not have Beja. A Mu'min has always fear of Lord, fear of Imam in their heart. What would Imam like in me? That's what we are talking about. Imam very clearly says that I want my Jamaat to follow the ethics. Imam has also said, Hazrat Imam has said in his Faramin, Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah has said in his Faramin that when others would see you, your behavior should be such that when others would see you, they'll say, oh, look at them. They are the followers of Aga Khan. So in what ways? In the ways of our adab, our good behavior, us following the ethics. When we do that, that is pleasing Imam. That is to have honor in the eyes of Imam, in the sense that Imam likes the way we behave. We follow the ethics. So we'll have to understand izzat in that terms. Then when we talk of ta'zeem in Urdu, ta'zeem is more related to respect. Respect of elderly, respect of grandparents, respect of family, friends. Respect in language too. Now in today's time, of course, Western, again, English has word you for everybody. In Urdu, that's not the case. In Gujarati, that's not the case. It would be different for different people. Like in Gujarati, we would say tu, tame. There's a difference. In Urdu, tum, aap. There is a levels that how do you speak respectfully with your elders. English, we don't have that thing. And again, in respect, there's another term which we use, and you would see that, right? We would say, Ferial Sahiba and Naveen Sahiba just did the zikr. So we would use Sahiba. The word Sahiba or Sahib actually is used in our tariqa very much, and we don't realize that. Mukhi is the title. Sahib is attached to Mukhi, the title, as respect. Mukhi Sahib, Kamriya Sahib. And for women, we do say Ma, Mukhyani Ma, Kamriyani Ma, but in reality, the proper term is Sahiba. And when we are talking among ourselves, we got to respect each other too, and that's what we try, that, Ferial Sahiba, Naveen Sahiba, respectfully we say. In informal setups, we might say, Ben, Ferial Ben, Karim Bhai. That's informal. But when we are in formal settings, respect has to be properly shown. And that's what matters. That is good behavior, that we are very respectful among ourselves. That is our culture actually. And that is what we follow in Jamaat Khana too. Always Mukhi Sahib, Rai Sahib, Wazir Sahib. So Sahib is the word, or Sahiba is the word we use to show respect. Again, how is respect demonstrated? By disciplined behavior. One has to have discipline in their behavior. Without discipline, one cannot show any respect. So discipline is underlying term which will come everywhere actually. Then sharf is again, it's a respect of ahda, status. Like Mukhi Sahib, we would respect them because they are the Amar of the Imam. So there's a sharf. Martaba is in same context, that their martaba, their station or their status is higher than the Jamaat because they are sitting on the part. Affect, to behave in such a way that it has an effect on others. The way you talk with politeness, genuineness in your heart, that has an effect. When you talk like that, when you behave like that, you are making a difference because you are showing very disciplined behavior to Jamaat. You are showing a disciplined attitude to your children. And Imam is calling that a best inheritance. And then to be considerate, to think carefully about everything. And there's a beautiful saying of Mawla Ali. Mawla Ali says that a wise thinks before speaking, an ignorant, a foolish guy would think after talking. So to have adab actually is to be considerate, to consider what you're going to speak, to consider how you are going to think, how you are going to behave, what consequences your decision would have. All these are actually in the word adab. Esteem, to admire somebody. And Imam beautifully talks about it in this chapter, that who do we admire? Who do we respect? Who do we give regard to? And again, to give consideration or attention to. So this was the brief overview of just the word adab. Now the message in this verse, again we go back, Mawla says, teach your progeny and your brothers and sisters good behavior. If you do so, you will have bestowed real benefits upon your children and society, real benefits. Imam's word, parents who have taught their sons and daughters good behavior have indeed given best inheritance to their generation. So these are very powerful words in context of very simple thing, adab, behavior, So let's look at, what do I have? Okay, this is beautiful farman of Hazrat Imam, Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda, February 27th, 1972. Please recite the salawat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Mawla says, my beloved spiritual children, I accept bakshamni of the children to the Imam of the time. And I give each one of you individually my best and most affectionate loving blessings. Khanavadan, Khanavadan. I return them to you to educate them as my own children. Give them good education, good understanding of two things, the world and faith. Make them imani, good disciplined. Teach them morality and to serve humanity. Remember that you are looking after Imam's children. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Very powerful farman. The reason I picked this farman because Imam talks about in this farman discipline, but it is not limited to discipline. Imam is talking about so much more. Educating our children as they are the children of Imam. How would we treat Imam's children? Our children are Mawla's children. The way we should teach them, the best inheritance, to teach them morality, to teach them to serve humanity, not only teach them the worldly things and faith limited to half an hour or less than that in a daytime. If we were to talk about balance, how do we keep that balance? How do we teach faith to our children? So in one way, if we are treating our children respectfully, teaching them what is good behavior, teaching them what is the service to Jamaat and humanity, we are teaching them good behavior. And good behavior is part of our faith. Did we realize that ever? That the good behavior is part of our faith. So again, this is very powerful farman when we go for bayah, when we take our children to Jamaat Khana, and when Imam, we got to, I hope that this is the farman they give to those parents when they are, doing the bayah of their children. Imam returns that child to parents saying that these are my children, and teach them good faith, good worldly education, good discipline. Make them iman, make them believers. So good behavior is part of iman. Again, I repeat, good behavior, adab, is part of iman. And this is another beautiful farman. This is from Nairobi, Kenya, October 22nd, 1957, and Mawla sat on Gadi. Mawla says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadi wa ali Muhammad. You do not have to be a learned scholar to discover in the everyday context of human life the value of such qualities as integrity, honesty, discipline, and humility. So one does not need to be a scholar to know what is good behavior. How do we deal with each other in society, in our context? How do we behave? What should be our values? What should we value in our behavior? And these qualities which Imam wants us to have, that good behavior we should have, that includes integrity, honesty, discipline, and humility. So sometimes it is easier to understand these words when you look at the opposite of it, right? When someone is dishonest, they don't have good behavior. They don't have adab. They are nafarman. When one doesn't have discipline, very hard. Discipline is very hard, very difficult to be disciplined. When one does not have discipline, they don't have good behavior. Now, it's very interesting when I say that discipline is difficult. When we look at our lives and we look at our worldly responsibility, we are very disciplined. When we got to go to work, we will not be late. We will reach there in time. We will take every possible effort to be not late at work. So again, depending on what we are thinking, how we are thinking, how disciplined we are, what matters to us, that is very important. And then within discipline, within good behavior, humility is also included. Now, humility is a pillar, I would say, for us to elevate in spirituality. Why do I say that? Because Imam has taught us in Baitul Khya that sit in bandagi in humility, because without humility, there is no progress. So what is the opposite of humility? One being very egoistic. It is me, all about me and I. Imam says, one has to be humble to be able to progress. And remember, all these friends who are here, they are the ones who are seekers of true knowledge. We are seeking spiritual progress. So we are not looking at worldly reputation, worldly prestige, or worldly ego or I attitude. We are talking about, we are learning to be more and more humble and learn these good behavior, which Imam appreciates. Imam wants to see in us. So again, this farman, very important. Someone might say, oh, I have never studied in university or college. Imam says you do not need to be a scholar to have a good behavior. which means that if someone in their language, they use slang words for some reason, whatever reasons, we don't need to go into reasons. But if we are followers of Imam and we are listening to this Farman, one does not need to be having any, higher education to know what are the good qualities in our dealings in the worldly life. We do know that. We can learn that and we can behave in such a way. Again, this is not to criticize, but remember we have gathered here to reflect, to learn, to think. So this is for all of us to learn and improve together. And then let's see what I have. Okay, so here, one of the meaning, let me go back because this, in order for me to explain this slide, I got to go back. One of the meaning of word adab we looked at is the.
Can you take more initiative? Actually, get one kid.
All right, thank you. So one of the meaning of adab is izzat, which is honor in English, honor everywhere. But if you were to look at the word izzat, actually one of the translation is uprightness. The word uprightness means is strictly honorable and honest, is strictly uprightness. So when we look at this slide, now this is actually word to word translation of chapter 2, verse 135. And in this verse, actually Allah talks about Deen Ibrahim, the religion of Ibrahim. The religion of Ibrahim is the upright religion. So the religion of the Ibrahim is the upright, strictly honest and honorable, which is actually part of good behavior. How broad and interrelated these terms are, which is so surprising. So one of the translation, the meaning of the upright, the Hanif, which is given in Quran, is one who scorns the false creeds surrounding him and professes the true religion. And that is the definition of Hazrat Ibrahim's religion. Why do we need to talk of Hazrat Ibrahim's religion? Because we follow Hazrat Ibrahim. He was one of our Natik, and he is the one who taught us the monotheism. One God. We believe in one God, right? Monotheism. And these are the 4 verses for those interested friends who would like to study where it is being talked about Deen Ibrahim. So chapter 2, 135 say, and they say, be Jews or Christians, then you will be rightly guided. Say unto them, O Muhammad, nay, but we follow the religion of Ibrahim, the upright. So Prophet Muhammad is being told by Allah in Quran that tell others that you are Jews, you are Christian, doesn't matter. One has to be rightly guided, and we are the followers of the Ibrahim. Then another verse, chapter 3, verse 67. Ibrahim was not a Jew, not a Christian, but he was an upright man. Meaning that the name Jew or Christian has been given to people by themselves. These names are taken by people themselves. It is not about the religion of Allah, the religion which Ibrahim had brought. And after Ibrahim came Musa and then Isa, right? So Allah speaks truth. So follow the religion of Ibrahim, the upright. He was not one of the idolaters. He believed in one Allah. Who is better? This is chapter 4, verse 125. Who is better in religion than he who surrenders his purpose to Allah while doing good and follows the tradition of Ibrahim, the upright? And those who follow Ibrahim's religion, which is strictly true, strictly honest, then Allah actually tells that Ibrahim was his friend. Allah chose Ibrahim his friend. Why? Because he followed the upright religion. So if one is following the upright religion, then one can come close to Allah, become his friend. How interesting is this? How interesting this realization is. And now let me take you to Mawla's Farman. You will be amazed what Mawla is saying here. This is Lisbon, Portugal, April 9th, 1987. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. Remember also that although in the Christian world there may be misconceptions and misperceptions about what Islam represents, and particularly at our times today, remember to convey what is the true meaning of the faith of Islam: the unity of God, monotheism, social responsibility, charity, kindness, discipline, hard work, integrity, turning away from greed, turning away from envy, turning away from undesirable social habits. I believe that if you convey this message individually, in your family, in your lives, you will find that society around you, which is not Muslim, will find it much easier to understand our faith, the principles of our faith. And ultimately, they will learn that all monotheistic faiths are referred to as Ahle Kitab, people of the book. And they should not be allowed to think that the God they worship is different from the God whom others worship within the definition of Ahlul Kitab. So what I'm saying to you today is that in your everyday lives, at all ages, remember to be clear in the way you express yourselves with regard to the faith of Islam. I hope that you are able to see the relationship which we just did in this Quranic verses. Be Jews or Christian, does not matter. We follow Ibrahim, the upright religion, the Ahle Kitab religion. And that's what Imam exactly is talking about in this Farman. And this is especially Imam gave this Farman to people who live, Jamaat who lives in the Western world. We are not different. We are also followers of the book. We are people of the book. And we also believe in the same Allah. It's not different. Yes, Imam is the guide for us. They do not need to know the batin of our tariqah in that sense. But yes, Imam is the light, embodied light, who is here physically present in this physical world to guide us. Because we believe that Prophet Muhammad gave his, make Mawla Ali the Janasheen, his Janasheen, jiska main Mawla uska Ali Mawla. And that's how we have Imam in our lives. Now, the essence here, what we are focusing here by discussing Quranic verses, we are discussing Kalam-e-Mawla, we are relating it to Quranic verses and the Farman, and actually we are talking about good behavior. Good behavior in us is the representation of our faith. All this principle Imam has talked about. We believe in one Allah. They call it, whatever they call it, we all know it is one God. We are all believers of, we are all people of the book. They call them Jews or Christians and we call them Muslims. We all believe, we all are the people of the book. And Imam is saying that if we were to show from our good behavior about how, about unity of God, monotheism, social responsibility, charity, kindness, discipline, hard work, integrity, turning away from greed, turning away from envy, turning away from undesirable social habits, then there is no difference. Then there is nothing to be having any misunderstanding and misconceptions. And that expectation Imam has from Ismailis, that Ismailis are the ones who will show the world what is Islam religion is. And all this actually comes under good behavior. We are still studying Adab, nothing else, Adab. Then this is the second word, second part, and in this Mawla says, अदब मर्द का सो भला है जानो, बेअदब के सोने थी, अदब भला है पिछानो, अदब से जिने किया पर दिल खुशहाल है, भला है उस थी जो बेअदबी से देवे माल. Well-behaved persons are always admired. It is better to associate oneself with well-behaved people than with those who have a treasure of gold and who are misbehaved. Well-behaved people bring happiness to the hearts of others, far more than the happiness derived from the goods given by the misbehaved. Now, Imam is relating happiness with good behavior. Imam is relating admiration with good behavior. Remember, we talked about having regard, admiration. It's all under the word adab, good behavior. So I find myself having difficulty to praise these verses. It's amazingly beautiful the way Imam has so concisely put so many concepts in Kalam-e Mawla. It is mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing. So well-behaved person. Remember, we are giving good inheritance to our children. We are behaving good to each other. Those are the people who are always admired. And it is Imam who wants us to be admired by the Ummah, by the humanity. Why and how? That we are the followers of the Imam. And how we are going to show? Simply having adab, having good behavior. And then Mawla is relating it with those who might have richness in the world, physical world, worldly treasures, worldly money. If they have worldly resources, worldly money, or knowledge, whatever it is, but if they are misbehaved, it is not admired. Whatever they have, it is of no value if they don't have good behavior. And what is good behavior? Being kind, having honesty, having humility, all those values which we talked about. And then Mawla says that heart will never find happiness. Those who are misbehaved, they will be very unhappy. So I'm sure you would have heard this term, right? Successful, unhappy people. And then worldly wise, they've not done a lot, but very happy, at peace. Imam is valuing those people who have inner happiness. Why? Because they are behaving well. Why? They have the value of integrity, service to Jamaat, service to humanity, having humility. Then those who have money, bundles of money, or whatever worldly resources they have, but they are misbehaved. If someone is proud on their wealth, on their property, or on their knowledge of business, any kind of knowledge, if they're proud, they are not humble, because proud is being opposite of humility. So if we understand this, we will realize what is the true reputation which Imam wants us to have, the true prestige Imam wants us to have. Then this is beautiful part, and I was looking at this, I love this verse. It is Satgur kahere sab jug dekhya nirdhana ane dhanvant na dekhya koi dhanvant ta usko aankhiye jine preet pyasu. The true guide says the whole world sees the worthless and no one sees the worthy. The worthy are only seen by the ones who have their love directed towards the beloved. The whole world, Sadhguru says, our Peer says that the whole world I saw is having no dhan, no worth, no money. The only one who has the value, the worth, the money is the one who has the love of beloved in their heart. So if one has the love of the beloved in the heart, they will have good behavior. Simple as that. How all these are interrelated, it is so beautiful. It is so amazing that it sounds like that we come back to the same message of Imam's love. If we love Imam, everything will get better. Loving Imam is so much more important. So if we do not realize that when we misbehave, actually we are being nafarman bardar. And if we are lovers of Imam, day by day we want to improve ourselves, behave better, so Imam is happy with us. If we sit in Ibadat Bandagi and if we want to progress spiritually, see the Didar of Imam, we got to be able to please Imam. And pleasing Imam will come when we are having the love of Imam in our heart. How will the love will come? When our behavior is good. Do we see how all these concepts are interrelated? Then another beautiful farman. This is Rawalpindi, Pakistan, March 30th, 1979. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. You have been disciplined. Remain disciplined. You obeyed your Imam's farman. Continue to obey your Imam's farman. And to each and every one of you, on this occasion, I give my most affectionate, best, loving blessings. Khana vadan, khana vadan, khana vadan. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It is an expectation of Imam that we should have adab, we should have discipline, we should have good behavior. That makes Imam happy. So in conclusion, adab for ourselves, children, Jamaat, whoever we, humanity we say, we got to be honest, respectful, courteous, considerate, to make a difference, to be mindful and thoughtful, to follow the religion of Hazrat Ibrahim, who was honest and was the upright religion, to be disciplined in following the truth, faith, be iman, to admire truth, to admire honesty, to have inner happiness, to recognize the value of the truth versus superficial worldly wealth and temporal prestige or happiness, to be humble and in service of Jamaat and humanity. To do what? To achieve what? To become one with him. That's the ultimate goal. Fanafil Imam. And then lastly, I would like to share Khayal's poem. He has been sharing his poems for a few years with Nachis. And when today he shared and I read, and I'm like, you are talking about the same thing I'm going to talk about. So I said, let me share with you all too. So he writes, it has already been a few days, and since the spiritual reset, I mean the night of destiny, which was already preset. It is the night of power according to one of its names, better than 1,000 months, or so the Quran claims. But in order to understand the blessed night's true value, one needs to go beyond the basics and what have you. But the best way to encounter it is through continuous discipline. The best way to encounter what we wanted to achieve at the night of destiny is through continuous discipline and by the seeking of true knowledge. To remove doubts which are lingering, the night of decree must be seen with the eye of insight. Then you may be merged and embody the peace of this night. So we were so excited about Laylatul Qadr. Imagine that if we truly want to see what is Laylatul Qadr in our own personal world, we want to experience that Laylatul Qadr for ourselves in personal world, presence of Imam in our personal world. The best way to do that is to have continuous discipline, good behavior, adab. So I hope that we enjoyed this beautiful verses, just 2 verses. And there is so much more we can talk about, but this is, alhamdulillah, needs reflection for us to continue to think and see ourselves. How do we meet the expectations of Imam to have the good behavior? Shukran lillah, walhamdulillah, shukran lillah, walhamdulillah. If anyone has any questions, today we talked about very broad topic of good behavior. Remember good behavior?
Yeah, Madad Varma. Can I ask one question?
Please.
वर्मा अदब में मैं एक चीज ये पूछनी थी कि अपने मजहब में अपनी ड्रेसिंग के रिलेटेड, हम जो कपड़े पहनते हैं उसके रिलेटेड भी कुछ ऐसी अदब है कि कहाँ हमें एक लिमिट रखना चाहिए, क्योंकि जैसे बच्चों को अगर सिखाना है तो कैसे सिखाना?
Very good question. Imam का एक फरमान is very clear that wherever we live, whichever country we live, we do need to be just like their culture. We should not be wearing different clothes than the country we live in. And then if you are talking about specifically covering of the body, remember we don't have hijab. There's a beautiful farman of Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah. If I'm not wrong, that farman is in bridge between two epochs, if I'm not wrong. And Mawla says that if you will wear a hijab, then how would we recognize, how you would recognize each other, your brothers and sisters in Jannat when you are there? So remember, in Orthodox Islam, people who do not understand Quran, they talk of hijab and covering the hair and whatnot. But despite of one living in Pakistan, because that's a Muslim country or Arab country, our tariqa does not expect us to wear a veil or hijab in the hair. But yes, it has to be appropriate to the occasion. Unnecessary exposure is not appreciated. And Imam's Farman, Sultan Mahmud Shah's Farman, even Hadri Imam's Farmans are there on simplicity, sadgi, right? Too much spending money on our clothing is not.
Niamat Ben,
Ji.
Niamat Ben,
Yeah.
can I remind you, I come from East Africa, and Sultan Muhammad Shah, when my mother used to wear long dress with a pacheri, Sultan Muhammad Shah says, don't wear long dress and pacheri and all that. Wear like my Begum wears dresses. And then my mom and everybody started wearing dress up to the knee, but no pacheri in khan and everything. So that was Sultan Muhammad Shah's farman.
Yeah.
Yes.
In fact, there is one farman, so you'll be surprised. This one, Gulzar. In Africa, Imam actually gave farman. In fact, Mawla chose few couples, right? And Mawla said that you need to learn how to dance. And Imam actually sent them to somewhere, brought them to London or Canada. I don't remember the details of that event, but Imam actually brings them from Africa to somewhere so they can learn how to dance, because that was a part of the culture. So this learning dancing, and it's Imam's hukum that you got to learn to dance, may challenge some's heart, those who are from India, Pakistan. But Imam does want us to live the way, whatever culture we are in. And when I talk of dance, let me tell you, I love dancing. But which dance? Remember when we talked about Zikr Badni, that you dance to praise Imam. Again, dancing could have very negative understanding from people who are from Pakistan, or I do not know, India. Still there is much more dancing, but it's all cultural dancing. When we come to West, somehow because of the shift of the culture, the dance is not appropriate, it is wrong somehow. But in reality now we see more and more dancing becoming part of our culture, our festivities, just not dandiya ras, but dance. And if we were to look at our history, Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam, he prayed while dancing. We do know about Sufis. They dance and they prayed, like doing zikr. Like let's say, Allahu Maulana Ali. They are saying this zikr and they are dancing too, right? So whatever we see in different culture, Imam has taught us so beautifully to take those learnings and make it part of our faith. Whatever we do is to do for our faith, not for any other reason. Now, if we talk of dancing, one can take dancing to the bars and drinking and then going into wrong, bad social habits too. But then if you come this side, dancing is same here and there. It is movement of the body. But then here, when you're moving the body, you're remembering Mawla. So how one action is same, but the intention, the desire, when it changes, it is a spiritual practice, zikr badni. So remember, clothes, pant shirt you're wearing, or you're wearing mini dresses, in Pakistan, if you were to be there, you cannot be. I mean, that's not acceptable because the culture is different. But if you are in West and you are wearing dresses, it is very appropriate to go to Jamaat Khana wearing dresses because that's the culture. It's very normal to do that. So again, we have to look at the culture where we are living in, and we need to be culturally appropriate. And definitely, the exposing body unnecessarily is not appreciated in any culture, let it be West or East. So I hope that helps, Gulzar. We went into really detail and talking about so many different
Thank
things.
you, Vaima. Thank you. And one more question, Vaima. For Adab, what Griyazari tasbih we should do? Like if we have more anger or, like some bad habits, like to overcome that, which Griyazari we must do? Like,
Okay, so there are lectures, Gulzar, for anger, but one dua, one zikr is very beautiful, and it is La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin. And it relates to the reason it is the right zikr for anger or bad habits, because we don't realize when we do bad, all those spiritual diseases which our peers have taught us. If we have those bimariya, those diseases in us, actually what we are doing, we are being zalim to our own soul. We are doing zulm to our soul. So when we say La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin, we are saying that Mawla, you are Subhan. We believe in you, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin. I am the one who is being cruel to my own self, my own soul. So when we do this zikr, and this zikr in itself is a Girya Uzari zikr. This is the only zikr in itself, it's a Girya Uzari. So when we do this zikr, it is Girya Uzari we are doing. So it perfectly works when we have diseases like anger or whatever disease we have, and we want to get rid of that. Or sometimes you're in a situation you normally don't get angry, and you are in a situation when you got angry, and then when your heart is heavy, what do? Then I would sit down and do this zikr, because I know that what I did to myself was hurting my own soul, because I got angry. I didn't intend to, but the situation was such that I couldn't control myself. So you sit down and you do that zikr, and you shed tears, so the burden or the dirt which is accumulated on your heart, it goes away.
Yani madad Niamat Saiba.
Ji.
Niamat Saiba, what is your interpretation about Lak Chorasina Bandhan Mati Chodaujo? The one you talked about the avatar, ke aya bandgi ne karo to pachi bija avatar ma karjo. You said yesterday.
Yesterday, okay.
The Farman, Sultan Muhammad Shah's Farman is the same thing?
Yes, so this is totally unrelated, but you are asking, so Lak Chorasi is like making us scared. Okay, here again, Imam is making us scared that you'll be in the traps of these cycles, right? You will not be able to come out if you will not realize the importance of this life. Again, in Islamic teaching,
Imam is asking in Farman, today we got it in Ruhani Ilm, says that, bangi pela mangwanu ke lak chorasina bandhan mati mukt karao jo humne.
So remember, we've been talking about it, that Imam uses those terms in front of those Jamati members who lived in that area, know better about, no knowledge of Islam. So Imam is teaching them how to become better and become good smileys, following the farmans of Imam. So the Lak Chorasi Fera in today's time, in our understanding, current understanding, is that 50,000 years, according to Farman of Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah, as well as from Quran, that we are stuck in those 50,000 years and not being able to become one with the Imam, because we did not realize the importance of our lifetime, our physical lifetime when we are in this world, and to be able to use our breaths to recognize the Imam, to become one with the Imam.
Thank you.
तो नियामत वो बरज़ख होता है, राइट? लेकिन एक चांस तो मिलता है ना कि वापस आप दुनिया में आके लाइक ह्यूमन फॉर्म में फिर आप कर सकते हो।
So barzakh is a very elevated concept actually. So barzakh जो है एक स्टेज है जो कुरान में मेंशन किया गया है. Barzakh is a term which is used in Quran about a stage which is before paradise. एक level है जो paradise से before है, उसके अंदर आप रहते हैं क्योंकि आप वासल भी नहीं हुए हैं. And that, in other words, you can say in today's days time, today's class time, we can say that वो 50,000 साल का गैप है, वो लेवल है, क्योंकि इस दुनिया में वासल नहीं हुए उस मकाम तक पहुंचने के लिए, तो वो 50,000 years लगेंगे to be able to become one with the Imam.
Yeah, but Mawla is merciful, so like वहाँ पे आपको एक सलवात का एक ही सवाब मिलेगा, लेकिन जब आप ह्यूमन फॉर्म में एक सलवात पढ़ते हो तो you get 1,000 times
एक
more.
सवा लाख. Yeah,
हाँ,
yeah,
सवा
yeah.
लाख. So like you get that chance to again, like if you haven't done, so आपको ह्यूमन फॉर्म का तो चांस मिल सकता है ना, कि भले आप जैसा बोलते हो कि कुतरे बिलाड़ी या व्हाटएवर जो 1,84,000 योनियों में से पास नहीं होना है, लेकिन इंसानी रूप तो मिल सकता है ना.
So इंसानी रूप का मिलने का जो बात है ना, वो अगर हम साइकिल्स को समझे, राइट, इमेजिन 50,000 years. एक जो साइकिल बड़ा है, कंप्लीट साइकिल जो है वो तमाम रूहों के लिए वो 50,000 years का है. जैसे लेट्स से कि आज का दिन है, हम तमाम इमाम से जुदा होके आए. अब डिपेंडिंग ऑन हर एक के आमाल,
प्लस वहाँ तो लाइक टाइमलेसनेस है, टाइम का तो वहाँ पे है ही नहीं, इट्स टाइमलेसनेस.
क्योंकि हमको आज यहाँ समझना है, राइट. तो वहाँ की बात तो नहीं कर सकते, वहाँ तो टाइमलेसनेस है. लेकिन फॉर अस टू कॉम्प्रीहेंड दिस कॉन्सेप्ट कि क्या मतलब है जब फना नहीं होते हैं इमाम में, क्या मतलब है 50,000 साल, क्या मतलब है 1,84 फेरा. It is to make us realize the timeline in our understanding in this world. कि अगर हमारी जिंदगी 100 साल की है तो इमेजिन 50,000 years. Can you imagine that? कि स्टक है कहीं इन बिटवीन 50,000 years. जो इमाम हमें समझाते हैं कि do not be stuck in between which is 50,000 years. So जब हम साइकिल की स्टडी करते हैं तो all those souls which come in different point in time, सब एक साथ नहीं आती, सब different point in time में different cycles में आती है, लेकिन सबको इमाम के साथ एक होने का जो टाइम है वो मैक्सिमम 50,000. तो लेट्स से कि कोई जो है लास्ट में आया, उसने पूरा नहीं किया और 50,000 का जो साइकिल है वो पूरा हो रहा है, इमाम की मर्जी हो सकती है, इमाम की रहमत इज ऑलवेज देयर. अगर आज हम दुनिया में बैठे हैं और आज हम दुआएं करते हैं, खूब जोरदार दुआएं करते हैं रूहानियों के लिए भी, जैसे हम फरमान रीडिंग का इंटेंशन जो हम कर रहे हैं, एक्चुअली वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट इंटेंशन इज रूहानी के सवाब के लिए. तो हमारी दुआएं भले एक की एक है पर पहुंचती तो है ना, हम स्पेशल जो भी करते हैं. तो जब हम मेहनत करते हैं, हम उनको दुआएं भेजते हैं, तो इमाम की मर्जी भी तो आती है ना. लेकिन मैक्सिमम टाइम जो डराया जा रहा है कि तुम चेत जाओ, तुम जाग जाओ ड्यूरिंग दिस लाइफ टाइम, कि उसमें तुम 50 साल में तुम स्टक नहीं हो, ये मकसद है इमाम का. तो आज के जमाने में अगर हम हमारे बच्चों को कहेंगे 1,84 का फेरा, तो बच्चे हमको सवाल करेंगे कि आई एम नॉट हिंदू, व्हाई आर यू टॉकिंग टू मी लाइक दैट, शो मी फ्रॉम कुरान कि मैं मुस्लिम कैसे हूँ. दैट इज वाई इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि हम कुरान की तालीमात देके बच्चों को कुरान की तालीमात सिखाएं, ताकि उनको ये समझ में आए कि वो मुस्लिम है भाई, हिंदू नहीं है. तो वी कैन नॉट कंटिन्यू टू यूज दोज टर्म्स. यस, इमाम के फरमान के शब्द हैं, बट हाजिर इमाम के फरमान के मुताबिक वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कुरान, ताकि हम आज एजुकेशन होने के साथ कुरान को समझें और बराबर हम एज ए स्माइलिंग मुस्लिम अपीयर हो. अहले किताब हिंदू लोग हैं, वो अहले किताब नहीं है. मुसलमान जो है वो अहले किताब है इमाम के फरमान के मुताबिक. तो हम 1,84 की बातें कैसे कर सकते हैं? नहीं कर सकते हैं. हाई टाइम है हमें समझना होगा कि क्या मतलब है आज के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में. इमाम का फरमान है, पीर का गिनान है, डेफिनेटली है, लेकिन वो उस टाइम के लिए अप्रोप्रिएट था. आज के टाइम के लिए वी कैन नॉट कीप कंटिन्यूइंग टू लुक बैक ऑन दोज टर्म्स, क्योंकि अदरवाइज वी विल कंटिन्यू टू लूज आवर यंगस्टर्स लिविंग इस्माइली तरीका. बिकॉज क्या कहेंगे, ये मुसलमान ही नहीं है, बोलते हैं मुसलमान लेकिन मुसलमान तो है ही नहीं, कुरान को तो मानते ही नहीं है. क्योंकि मुसलमान की सेंट्रल किताब क्या है? इस कुरान. Does it make sense, Munira, what I'm saying to you?
Thank you so much.
Shukran, Mawla.
Thank
Yali
you.
Madad.
Yali Mother, thank you, Irfan.
Yali Mother, thank you.
Yali Mother, Baba.
May Mawla bless you, Yali Madad.
Thank you very much. Yali Mother, thank you so much.
Yali Madad.
Yali Mother, thank you.